And yes, you can. Hi friends, I'm Les Mood, your host. Welcome to the Energy Independent Show, where we cover product reviews, interviews, and hot energy news. Solar Power International started its third week this week. SPI, ESI, North America Smart Energy Week. Stay tuned for a chance to win a ticket. Make sure and follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. World Economic Forum shares this video. The Maasai creates a conservancy for wildlife. The Maasai have lived in harmony with their environment and animals throughout history. The Maasai are semi-nomadic people living in East Africa for centuries. As grazing animals meet the needs of a growing population, the wildlife is in competition with the livestock. Fencing off and corralling land prevents the wildlife from roaming free. This is a major problem for wildlife diversity. So, locals created what is called the conservancy. It uses tourism to fund conservation. This model appears to be working well because locals have an economic incentive for preservation and conservation. This will allow for wildlife and people to live in greater abundance. NREL uncovers untapped potential exists for blending hydropower and floating PV. Hybrid systems of floating solar panels and hydropower plants may hold the technical potential to produce a significant portion of the electricity generated annually across the globe, according to an analysis by researchers at the U.S. Department of Energy's National Renewable Energy Laboratory, known as NREL. The researchers estimate that adding floating solar panels to bodies of water that are already home to hydropower stations could produce as much as 7.6 terawatts of potential power a year from the solar PV systems alone, or about 10,800 or 600 terawatt hours of potential annual generation. Those figures do not include the amount generated from hydropower. For comparison, global final electricity consumption was just over 22,300 terawatt hours in 2018, the most recent year for which statistics are available according to the International Energy Agency. Medium reports our self-driving business in Austin 1 year later. Why this matters. Building a self-driving service requires many pieces coming together, working in unison to change how people move. We have made significant progress over the last year to deliver a service that is valuable to Austinites. Austinites can expect to see our self-driving test vehicles clearly marked, operating autonomously in East Austin, South Congress, and downtown, including the University of Texas area. As we continue to ramp up our operations in Austin, we, along with our partners and suppliers, will bring more job opportunities to the community of Austin. Currently, we have nearly 30 employees in Austin to support our self-driving business operations and testing. CNBC shares the story: fraud claims, DOJ probe, and sexual abuse allegations cloud a $2 billion deal between General Motors and Nikola truck startup. What seemed like a simple matter of crossing the T's and dotting the I's has turned into a protracted challenge for General Motors and Nikola after negotiations to pair up and produce new zero-emission trucks have been extended. The $2 billion deal announced September 9th was billed as a partnership made in heaven, according to Nikola founder and then chairman Trevor Milton during a media call with GM CEO Mary Barra. But the Phoenix-based startup has since been hammered by claims of fraud, with the Securities and Exchange Commission probe now underway. Allegations surfaced this week of sexual abuse by Milton, who stepped down as chairman last week. Nikola's stock has plunged to barely a quarter of what it was worth when the company went public last June. Green tech media warns don't repeat solar mistakes with hydrogen. IEA chief warns Europe. Europe must not repeat the same mistakes it made with solar manufacturing in the emerging hydrogen sector, the executive director of the International Energy Agency, IEA, has warned. A string of European research institutes and pioneering companies develop much of the technology still in use in PV panels today. But as solar began to scale in multiple international markets, coordinated national and regional support allowed Chinese manufacturers to get the upper hand over their rivals. Support in the forms of cheap land and warehouse facilities, as well as feed-in tariffs, helped companies like Suntech and Trina Solar to build scale and slash costs. Chinese firms dominate the global PV panel market today with a more than 60% market share. Jinko Solar and other market leaders have been adding huge volumes of additional manufacturing capacity this year. Today, Europe would appear to be at the vanguard of the hydrogen economy. Speaking at the Solar Power Europe Trade Bodies Summit, Faith Birol warned against allowing history to repeat itself. PV Magazine announces IRENA presents $2 trillion plan to drive 5.5 million renewables jobs by 2023. The International Renewable Energy Agency has used its annual Renewable Energy Jobs Report to urge governments to do more than double annual investment in energy transition technology to almost $2 trillion from next year to 2023, so renewables employment can drive the global recovery from COVID-19. The UAE-based international body said investment on that scale could generate 5.5 million new clean energy jobs by 2023, more than compensating for 1 million job losses in the fossil fuel industry over the same period. If the world then spent an average of $4.5 trillion per year on clean energy tech for the remainder of the decade, IRENA claimed, renewables would employ 30 million people by 2030 and account for 42 million jobs in a 100 million strong energy sector worldwide in mid-century, with a further 21 million working in energy efficiency, and at that point, almost 15 million employed in grid and energy flexibility. Yahoo tells us someone finally made a VTOL that looks and flies like a real airplane. Samad Aerospace says the design of its new two-seat VTOL concept, the QStarling, was inspired by everything from the P-51 Mustang to the Hawk fighter jet to a Maserati. Although there is also something nautical about its broad, almost duck-billed nose and swept-up underside, its unique appearance reflects a larger sense of innovation that extends even to the QStarling's function and mission. The company calls it a jump plane for the jet set. One of the few VTOLs in the personal aviation vehicle category, the QStarling is not a helicopter or drone design, but a bi-wing design. The company thinks the design will be an advantage in the early stages of VTOL adoption because the airplane design is more in line with existing air traffic regulations and landing infrastructures. And that's it for the hot energy news, brought to you by Coben Systems and SPI ESI North America Smart Energy Week and SignWatts. SPI has gone virtual, and Coben Systems is the brains behind the smartest electrical panel in the world. Simply genius. SignWatts puts the power in your hands with vehicle to grid technology, a microgrid on wheels. The revolution is